So this is the Vinfast Klara S. Let's just get the pricing out of the way. 19.9 mil for the bike only. About 4 mil to register it with papers. 170k a month if you want to rent one battery, and 350k a month if you want to rent two batteries. If you want to just buy a battery, 8.6 mil. So we'll talk about how that works a bit later on. So the first thing you notice when you're on an e-bike is just how quiet they are. It's really strange, a completely different experience to a normal motorbike or scooter. And it's a lovely experience. You just glide around. It's so nice. So the Klara S has a sport mode and an eco mode on my right hand here. And the idea is if you're in eco mode, you basically hardly move for the traffic, and sport mode is to go a bit faster. But this bike has absolutely no power at all. I would put it down at about 70cc is the number I would have for it, but that doesn't really matter. So I'm not a fast rider on the roads, I'm really not, but I am experienced on bikes, so I zip around traffic much more than I had realized until I drove this bike. So what you find with this, coming from my perspective, someone with experience, is you got no power, but you do seem to end up driving at the same speed as everyone else. So I have my throttle fully down right now. It feels dangerously slow to me, and yet I'm still overtaking the locals. So I do wonder how they manage to drive so slowly, and until having go on it, I hadn't quite realized how slowly everybody is driving. So I think for most people, the speed and power of this bike is really not going to be an issue. But if you are someone who zips around traffic, then yeah, it's going to be annoying for you to have such little power. So let's talk about batteries for a second. Now you have two choices. You can either buy a battery, and if you do that, you charge it up in your house. That's fine. Every evening, you take the battery out, you carry it up to your apartment, you charge it up, in the morning you bring it down. It's not inconvenient really, it's pretty simple. If you rent a battery from Vinfast, then apparently at every single Vinmart you can exchange that battery for free. And you need the app to do this. So that means if you have a Vinmart on your way to work, you just drop in, you swap the battery out for a full one, and off you go again. So if you're renting batteries and you're using Vinmart to replace them, then you're essentially getting free charge. You're not paying for that. But if you're renting batteries and you're using your own apartment's electricity to charge it up, then I don't think it's going to be particularly cost efficient. I don't know what it costs to charge these up. It doesn't seem that practical. So I think that's something worth considering, and we're talking tiny money here. Yeah, so I don't know how budget conscious people are. Yesterday when I drove this for about, I would say 20 minutes, I started on 40%, and by the end of the journey I'd run out. Now the thing is, as the battery gets lower and lower, the bike actually slows down. So by the time you get to about 5%, you're just literally down to about 20cc. You can't even really go up a hill. So your usable battery life is probably more like 100 down to 20%, and that doesn't get you very far. So if you are using this bike to potter around the city, that's going to be fine. But if you're trying to do any sort of journey, even a small journey, it's going to be a problem. So I do think with these bikes, you need the two batteries. The one battery, you're going to find yourself stranded on the roads at times, even if you think you're really organized. All I can say right now is the battery life is short, but if you're organized and you keep charging them up in the evenings, you just pop the battery out, take it up to your apartment, charge it up, and you make a routine out of it, or you stop by Vinmart every day where you exchange the battery, then yeah, they're going to be incredibly convenient. I'm not going to say as convenient as a petrol bike, but they're getting close. Let's talk about leg room. You got the old problem of getting your knees stuck in here, but basically you do have a lot of space, very similar to a normal scooter. The dashboard is awesome. You can see your battery life, the time, your kilometers an hour in just huge block numbers. I think there's the weather on here. It's modern and fresh, I'll tell you that. And these scooters also connect to your phone via an app, so you can see where you've been, I believe, GPS data, all that kind of stuff. but you also need to use that app to exchange the batteries in Vinmart. I don't know how quick that process is. So one more thing I will say about these is I do find, so basically when you hit the brakes, you kind of disengage the engine, which causes you to jolt forwards ever so slightly, and then there's a lag time in the re-engagement of the engine. And something that I'm finding is that I'm very used to riding the brake on a lot of my bikes. I don't know why I do it, but I do it. So on the e-bike here, I'm quite often finding myself jolting around, having accidentally disengaged the engine. It's probably a driving technique error from myself, but I think you'll find a lot of experienced riders do use the brakes far more than they would perhaps realize. So you have to adjust. So are these ready? Now, if you consider the price point of $1,000, then yes, because your standard Honda scooter, the Air Blades, your Leads, are about $1,600. So you are renting the battery on top of that, on top of the $1,000, but these are cheap. These are cheap. And even if you buy yourself one battery, it's still coming in a little bit less or very similar to a standard Honda scooter. So value for money, they're great. And I almost think the reason they haven't taken off more than they have is because if you go into a Vinfast, they really don't sell the scooter hard. I had to talk to other people who have owned these to understand about the battery exchange mechanism. They don't sell them to you very well. So this is the charger. It's quite a big unit, and this is what you would put in your apartment, plug into a normal socket, and then that plugs into the battery. So to open the seat, you got two hooks here. That pops out. I'll be honest, it's a very cheap plastic feeling going on. Unclip this, that's all right, I think. Let's see if I can do it. This is the first time I've done this. Okay, cool. Don't know what that stuff's doing. So this is your spare battery, not plugged in. This is your main battery, and basically if this was to drain, you switch them out. All right, so the battery is, I don't know, they're not that heavy. You could easily carry this around. Not heavy. Plugs in, you stop in a Vinmart, exchange it, or like I say, carry it up to your apartment, charge it up. So the process to take the battery out, first time, no instructions, that was easy actually. Out it comes, let's see if I can plug it in. Cool, that's super easy, I like that. It's not a difficult thing to do. Down it goes. Whilst it's not a difficult experience doing that, it's not as convenient as a petrol where you roll into a gas station, literally 2 minutes later you roll out again with 2 weeks worth of gas. Keep in mind as well, you got your raincoat in here, this, that and the other, and you got to probably every single day, even if you're driving a little bit, you're going to have to do that. Is it worth the trade-off to be eco-friendly? Yes, right now it is. Is that worth the trade-off to be eco-friendly? I'm not sure. That's not great. I'm actually so surprised. Okay, so you got basically, it looks like reasonable storage, but can't put my helmet in. Are these as good as petrol scooters? No. I would say they're about 70% as good. But if you want to be eco-friendly, modern, support the environment, move into the future, then are they worth getting? Yes, they're pretty close to being good. Although maintaining a Honda scooter or a Yamaha scooter is super easy, so many people make a mess of it anyway, and in this country mechanics are notoriously bad. And so if you are one of those people, just for whatever reason, you just cannot find a scooter that works, then you might actually have some luck with an e-scooter because there's nothing to go wrong. It's just a battery, which if you're renting, you replace it. Like, super simple. So for those people, it's a good one. And those people are out there who just make a mess of everything when it comes to maintenance. You know who you are.